Local productions on QTV are made possible with support from viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello everybody, I'm Junia Doan. Welcome to Uncommon Sense and thank you for joining us today. My guest today is Bud Carpenter. Bud is a veteran of World War II and a graduate of the University of Michigan School of Chemical Engineering. He has had a distinguished 37-year career at Dow Chemical and a long 15-year career with the Midland County Convention and Visitors Bureau. Welcome, Bud.
Good to be here.
What drew you to chemical engineering? Not a well-known field at the time, I would guess.
My chemistry teacher in high school, he intrigued me with the idea that everything is made up of molecules. And I took a strong interest in chemistry based on that school teacher.
And chemistry and molecules is part of manufacturing.
It's part of everything. Everything in the universe are made up of molecules.
And in a business sense, how aware does one have to be of chemistry?
Well, chemicals are involved in over half of all U.S. companies. They use chemicals for one sort or another. They use films made of plastics, they use preservatives, they use solvents, they use a whole array of chemicals. Over half of all U.S. industry.
And I think it's called personal care, shampoos and makeup. I'm sure that's an important aspect of formulating that. So when you graduated, did you get any help or guidance about where you could or should work?
No, I had read in college some of the literature and some of the work that Dow Chemical had done, as well as others. And I interviewed at a number of companies, and the opportunity at Dow seemed to be very good, particularly because they offered me a nearly year-long training program in various sections of the company.
That's a wonderful program, or was. I don't do it, I don't think, for quite a while.
Yeah.
But that meant you not only got an introduction to aspects of the field, but you got an introduction to the people who were new like you.
Right, right. And I worked in the plant with different people, got a taste for the manufacturing side, worked in the engineering department, worked at various research labs, so it was a wonderful experience.
And then how did you settle on what you did next in TS&D?
I was offered a job in manufacturing in Ludington, but I was also offered a job in what was called Coatings Technical Service and Development. And I took the latter, and that is an organization between research and marketing that helps the marketing organization in dealing with the customers and potential customers.
And did you look for advancement, or did Dow at the time look to advance people?
Well, I was intent on being successful with that job, and that meant I was intent on getting this organization, for example, in Burlington, Wisconsin, to buy our latex for a formulation to coat camouflage cloth during the Vietnam War.
Oh,
so that I was intent And we did end up selling tank cars of a particular latex for that application.
That's a lot of memory. You know, you don't think of I don't think of companies involved in the war effort, but of course,
Yeah.
that's always a matrix. It's
Yeah.
always a background in there. So 37 years. What other jobs did you have at Dow?
Following the technical service and development, where I was involved with a number of different products, latexes, various plastic materials. And then I was director of marketing, then I was a business manager of a number of Dow plastic products for a period of time. Following that, I was director of marketing communications, which was quite a different area, but we were involved in the promotion and the literature and the trade shows and so on the various Dow products. Following that, and my last job was director of communications for Dow.
Would that be exterior and interior?
That was for Dow of all of USA, and
That's
it
quite a
was
job.
heavily involved with exterior, dealing with the media and so on various Dow situations.
Oh, yes, interesting time. And then as you were considering retirement, what conversations did you have with yourself?
I wondered where, what would be the next job? Where would I go if I stayed? I was in good health, and I took the opportunity when they had a incentive program to retire at about age 62.
And then what drew you to Convention and Visitors Bureau?
Well, I didn't want to just sit back in an easy chair, and I applied there and some other places, and an opportunity came up there. The director was going to be leaving on maternity leave, and they offered me the job to be the sub there. She decided later that she was going to stay at home, and they offered me the job as director of the Midland County Convention and Visitors Bureau. And what that did, that tried to sell various groups, bus tour groups, conventions, sell conventions on coming to Midland. And also, of course, selling individuals. But most of the effort was on selling organizations to come to Midland.
How was it similar or dissimilar working as Director of Communications, exterior at Dow, versus doing another communications job, as it were, but in a totally different field?
The basics are the same. The basics of marketing, of communicating to potentials, they're pretty much the same. So the Dow experience was very helpful, and also the fact that I had lived in Midland a number of years and knew the facilities, that was very helpful.
And the people running them.
The people running, yes.
Well, I think it helps to know how the organizations flow. Did you manage differently? Did you manage people differently at Convention Bureau versus Dow? Were there different personalities?
I tried to encourage people and to have them do as much on their own and use their own incentive as much as possible.
And that worked really well.
Yes, it worked well. It worked well in both cases.
When a person isn't doing what you think they could do or should do by way of growth or compliance with the job requirements, how do you handle that?
Well, you need to be candid with people, and if they're off on the wrong track, you need to talk with them, guide them, explain to them where their weaknesses are, and in most cases, things got straightened around. Not always. Sometimes you had to let a person go.
That's hard.
Yep.
That really is hard. So you've worked a really long time, and not only that, but you've been involved in volunteer activities around town, as we call it, around Midland.
Yes.
And as one ages, we were talking earlier, but as one ages, what choices did you review for yourself of what you could or should or wouldn't do or could do?
I concentrated on what could I do that would give back to Midland. And I worked very closely with the United Way of Midland County, and still do. I've had a whole series of volunteer jobs at that site, as an example.
What was your World War II experience like? Where did they send you? What happened?
I volunteered right after Pearl Harbor when I was a senior in high school for the aviation cadet program. They called me up during my first year of engineering at the University of Michigan. I went through pre-flight basic training, a series of other stops. Then there was a more stringent portion of the physical exam, namely a different color blindness test. I flunked the color blindness test, and that dropped me out of being an aviation cadet. But the Army, in its wisdom, I ended up in the Signal Corps, where it was important that I had to have a red wire at the red terminal and a black wire at the black terminal, and so on. But I had really no problem with that.
It was a yellow-green. What was the color blindness in?
Yeah, it was red-green.
Red-green.
Red-green color blindness, which is the most common, and that's mostly in males, inherited from females.
And that didn't. That wasn't a barrier for the Signal Corps.
No, because the red-green color blindness is more subtle, in my case, it was more subtle. The only practical, real example that I found was if I was playing golf with a red tee in the grass, and I had trouble finding that tee in the grass. If there was a yellow tee, I had no problem spotting the yellow tee in the grass.
Interesting. Where did you serve in World War II?
New Guinea and the Philippines, Leyte Island and then Luzon Island. And we were really preparing for the invasion of Japan, which fortunately we didn't have to do.
What kind of preparations were you doing for the invasion of
Japan? We were setting up long lines communications, and we were using things that were very new to the country at that time, carrier systems where they would modulate several voice and teletype communications on one pair of wires. Now with the glass fibers, they'll put 500 communications on one pair of wires.
And in the earlier system, how far or how many, what was the difference preparing for short versus long?
You mean
distance?
You mean the distance?
In this technique, when you said you were preparing.
Oh yeah. Well, the transmission was pretty much the same. The key thing was, in those days, we had this limitation on the number of conversations that we could put on one pair of wires. Much more limited than they have today. But it was still very new technology then.
Yeah. Did you run into any Midland people or Michigan people you knew?
Yes, I ran into some in Manila, and we were located at various spots through the islands with our installation of equipment.
Tell me when the Signal Corps goes in. Is that the first group, or how
No,
does that
the
work?
Signal Corps, the portion that we were doing was more the support type and the preparation for major developments and major facilities, and in our case, the preparation for the invasion of Japan.
Oh, so how many years were you over in that part of the world?
I was over there over a year and was in the military 3 years in total.
I always thought New Guinea had savages that were, I don't know that they ate people, but anyway, they would kill you if you weren't part of them.
We landed in a troop ship on the northern coast of New Guinea, and General MacArthur had followed a very enlightened policy of head chopping, of having the troops take one town on the north and then skipping some other towns, isolating towns held by the Japanese, and then taking another town. And we ended up in Hollandia, which was part of the Dutch New Guinea at that time. And then we moved from there up to the Philippines.
And where he used the same kind of a military approach?
Yes, yep, same time. But it was interesting. Our troop ship was in a convoy from New Guinea to Leyte Island. However, the troop ship from San Francisco to New Guinea out in the open Pacific was unescorted, and so every morning at sunrise we had to put on our life jackets, get down to our assigned lifeboat station, because the ship veered about every minute on course, and that was done because in those days it took a Japanese submarine maybe approximately a minute to line up their target and to get things set and to fire the torpedo. And the reason it was done at sunrise and sunset is that the sun made with a ship in front, the black profile of the ship, that was the easiest for the Japanese subs to shoot at.
That's really fascinating.
Yeah.
Tell us one more story, and then I have a different question for you.
Yeah.
I love war stories because of the bravery and the difficulty and the report from a different time. Did you work with good people?
Excellent people, yes.
Glad to.
As a matter of fact, there were a number of Mormons around in our group, and I found them to be uniformly hardworking people. Yeah.
That's a good report.
Yeah.
I know you've been very active in various volunteer activities such as Rotary, because we're both a member of the Morning Rotary. And what drew you and got you interested is really leadership in Rotary.
Well, that was, again, expanding Rotary, putting up a second organization in Midland, putting something back into the town. But I was impressed with what Rotary is doing. For example, the work on trying to eradicate polio in the world. And Rotary and with the Gates Foundation have done wonders in that area.
Just say a little bit about what Rotary is, because you and I know, but maybe there'd be some people who are watching who aren't sure.
Yeah, Rotary is to take on various projects and to help people, and I think it's a very good organization, and it's rather widespread in the types of activities they do, depending upon the location and the situation.
Can you remember from memory what the four-way test is that begins every meeting? Is it true?
Yeah, is it true and
fair to all concerned?
And will it be good for all people? Things of that sort, yeah.
And is it easy to join Rotary?
Yes, if a person is really interested. In our case, we bring them as a guest and have them see how things operate, and then they can apply, and there's a vote. But the vote, pretty much invariably, we accept them, as long as they have some sincere interest.
And how often does it meet, or what are the responsibilities?
Our Rotary Club meets once a week, every Tuesday morning at 6:45.
One of the nice things about being a member of Rotary that I can say is there's such goodwill amongst the members and in the room when we meet.
It's and goodwill, and it's also you meet people from different professions and occupations, and Rotary intentionally does that. So you're not just cloistered up with people of your same occupation. You meet and work with various other people. That's a key advantage, in my opinion, to Rotary.
And it's a worldwide organization.
Yes.
So with the many opportunities to represent Rotary at various meetings abroad,
right,
and help projects.
Right, and in that polio example is one that's very important. And Rotarians have been around the world helping with Rotary, with the polio vaccine.
And what do you think of the responsibilities or the of a person of your age?
Responsibilities? Well,
yes.
A friend of mine just reminded me, he said, aging is mandatory, being active is optional. And so I believe in being active. And I believe in doing things that are going to help the community and help others.
And from a family point of view?
Our family, like many others, are scattered around the country. I have my oldest daughter is a school teacher in northern Michigan. My son is a banker in St. Louis. My younger daughter is a physician at Mayo Clinic in Arizona. So they're scattered around, and I find in talking to my friends, that's typical. People don't, and their offspring don't stay put in one location.
I remember you're telling me that one of the things you did was to sell your home to make it easier for the children.
Yes. I figured that was the best gift that I could give the kids. The kids were wonderful. They came from these widely varied locations. They picked out the things they wanted, my late wife's paintings, the furniture they wanted, all of these things. We took 18 bags to Salvation Army. Our other relatives had some of the artwork and so on, and that made it ideal then for me to sell the condo. And I sold the condo shortly after that.
And moved into?
And moved into Riverside Place. So I figure if something happens to me, the kids will have a minimal problem. They won't have a house to unload and to sell.
Thank you, Bud. Well, we've certainly learned, I have learned a lot, although I knew it before, about Bud, and that is he is a man of conscience, he is a man of duty, he is a man of holding himself to very high standards. He is a man who volunteers, as in the Army and the armed services, and he feels that a really high dedication to people around him or who is working for him and to the community in which he moved how many years ago, and that he's looked out for people in every aspect of his life. You just heard the last example of what he did for his children, which is to sell the family home. So following his death, they don't have to hassle and deal with that. That's an act of amazing originality and generosity. Also, I would say a very soft demeanor promotes calmness around people, something we all should share along with our enthusiasm. So I'm glad you tuned in today. I welcome you and expect to see you. Please be kind to yourself and do something wonderful for someone you know and someone you know. And I will see you the very next time. Thank you.
To contact Junia, send her an email at info@juniadoan.com. For more information, program schedules, and news about future guests, go to www.juniadoan.com. Thanks for joining us. See you next time for Uncommon Sense with Junia Doan.
Local productions on QTV are made possible with support from viewers like you. Thank you.